something. It's like a podcast, but it's a vodcast, so you can listen and watch. It's like news talk or sports talk, but it's life talk, so we can walk the road together. On today's episode, Chrystal Evans Hurst joins us for a kitchen chat on women and pressures to do all and be all, especially during the holidays. Thanks for joining the conversation. Here we go. Okay, our topic today, and we're so excited to have Chrystal with us because she is, well, just like an eternal encourager. And so as we're hitting, like right now, we're about to hit the full throttle with just stuff in life, with holidays, with pressures. I know for me personally, I have one that's graduating, so does Brenda. Mm-hmm. And so you've got even those pressures, which we had a long conversation about that in our house last night. You know, but it's just like the pressures are so intense. And so as women, we have this sense that we need to be all and do all. Mm-hmm. And so I know you've thought about this topic just even with, okay, so please, we hope that you will share some of your wisdom to give people, especially women, who we do have this superwoman cape on, and it's the gift and the curse all together, you know? Mm-hmm. How do we navigate it?
Well, I want you to know, I was just telling Courtney, I walked up to your front door, and I was so, it was a gift to me to see 3 pumpkins on your steps, and that's it.
Thank you.
Because this season, once we hit October, like my blood pressure starts rising and I start getting panicky because not only is it extra to do during the season, but it's extra in a department where it's not my natural thing. I'm not a natural decorator. I can barely get dressed. I mean, it is just like, so when you start adding on to that, decorate the house and the expectations for traditions, and then we got to get gifts, and then there are all the other parties. It's like madness. It's not madness. It's normal extra times 10.
It does seem like
it
that.
It is normal. Now, some people love the holidays. It's not that I don't love it. It's just my to-do list gets longer, which means more stress. What I have found and am continuing to find and continuing to learn is that the only person I'm competing with is me. It's the only standard that I have to meet is the standard that God sets for me. And as I follow Him, any standards that I set for myself. And it's okay to take some things off my own list for me. It's okay for me to say, in fact, I had to look at my older girls. So the 2 oldest are girls, and then we have 3 boys after that.
So 7 until 25. Get out.
Yeah, and then we just threw a grandbaby in the mix. So I've got a 1-year-old too.
Isn't that fun? Are you dying over that?
Yes, I'm having fun. Now that I'm over the initial, oh my gosh, I'm a grandmother, how did that happen?
Well,
how is that possible? I'm 27. Now that I'm over that, no, really, she's a whole lot of fun. And when they get, and I love babies, cute. I love babies. But now she's at that fun age, where you can kind of play with her. Anyway, so there's a lot happening in my house. My girls, the older ones, you say to me, they would be in such a hurry to go to my mom's house because my mother is Mrs. Claus. When you see the beam shining out from her neighborhood, it's because her house is lit up. And so they would say, why can't we have more of that at our house?
Yeah. So how do you handle that comparison? Because I know that when your mom is, Mrs. Claus and you're not.
Well, the first thing I did was, and it took me a minute to realize it, when I look back at some of our pictures when we were little, the house didn't look like that. The tree was really scant. And I remember her being really intentional on trying to get her tree together because she was trying to do it on $10, So when I look back, I was like, oh, but that did not mark in a negative way our memories of that season.
Gosh, that's
so true. I tell my kids, look, this is how I'm going to be able to do it now. As you get older, as I get older, as you guys have kids, it's going to get better. I'm going to get better at doing this. In the meantime, though, it's not about these things. It's about the memories that we make around the things. And so, but I have to tell myself that too.
You know what? You're so right. My mom told me one time, you all want everything that I have now, even, it's possessions and experiences that took me 30, 40, 50 years to either acquire or get to. We want almost a microwave society that's like, I want all the decorations and I want... And Mom said, we were married, they were married at 19 and 20, and they would make their ornaments as their gifts. They would have an electrical spool that they found on the side of the road, and that was their end table. And Mom's like, we would put, material over that, and that was my end table. And we went from Pottery Barn, and we want the best one, and, So I think there's such wisdom in that to look back and go, no, it took them a while to get the house beaming up with the lights.
I have a friend who said to me one time, we were talking about weight actually, but she said, you have to look at where you are and then say, because I can't change any of this instantaneously, do the best that you can where you are right now. And then be satisfied that today where you are, you're doing your best. And not that you don't mark the future. Mark how you can improve, mark how you can be better, mark how you can better manage your time. But what's best? What's my best today? Yeah. And then learn to be satisfied with that.
Well, what I like that you said is my best.
My best.
Because we're so tempted to look to insert a different word,
the,
and let it be the best. And so perspective is so important. I think that's critically important, especially when comparison is at play. You know, not racing through today to get to tomorrow, because today might have something pretty great in it.
Yeah. Well, that's why gratitude is so important, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely.
Because it forces you to look at the picture.
Yeah.
You know.
And stop complaining. One of my twins reminded me, I said, I'm so busy right now. Miss Wyma has someone, one of her children is also graduating now and going into high school. So what's the difference between, the two of you? And all of a sudden I had to just say, you know what? I am not the only one.
Yeah.
That is just.
And we never are.
Yeah.
But that's one of the tricks of Satan, is to get us to think that we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's to walk in isolation. And if you can, what do you do when you're trying to attack somebody? The first thing that you do is get them to think or actually be alone. And if I can get you alone, either in your thinking or physically, where you back away from people and support, and then I can really get to your mind, and through fear, get to what you might or might not accomplish because you think you can't do it on your own.
Yeah.
So we never are. We're never alone. We just have to be willing to kind of take the mask off and say, kind of, here's where I'm at.
Yeah. Chrystal, one thing you said huge in the beginning is the ability just to say no and say, this is about our life, and I'm saying no to Christmas cards this year, and I'm fired up. I'm like, why? I'm not sending Christmas cards. I'm just not. So, second thing,
I can relate to that totally.
I'm like, why am I just doing this? Sorry, you guys will make it without a Christmas card of us posed, in us outfits. Sorry, I'm going to email it or put it on Instagram. Like, Merry Christmas.
It's like, I think women, we have this myth that you have to be so capable, and it's like, what are we carrying that we could carry for each other?
Yeah, I think about you with your sister. Y'all, when I've heard you talk, I don't know you guys personally, but I feel like when I've heard you talk, y'all have definitely more tag teamed, and because y'all are close, been able to say that y'all aren't the same and you're very different, and say
well, like right now, because we're both homeschooling the kids, so we used to live next door to each other. As of like 3 months, we do not anymore, but we were trying to figure out the whole school thing, because who wants to do it all by themselves? So every day at 12, she leaves and brings her youngest son to my house, and then takes my oldest two back to hers. And then every day at 3:30, we'll take her younger son back and pick up the older kids and bring them back. So we kind of have this little rhythm going. But I think the trick for helping our friends out, our sisters out, whatever, is that we have to give each other the freedom to not hold each other hostage. And I think that's what makes us afraid. It's partially like, if I tell you that I need help, the first issue is, do I want you to know that? The second issue is, do I owe you? Do I owe you? And if you ask something from me, am I free to say no? Yeah. Do we give each other the freedom to share and be independent and respect that?
Do you set those boundaries in advance? How do you do that? How do you navigate those waters?
I don't know.
Because that's the feeling that I have. It's like, well, I really
Lord
want
have
to
mercy.
ask
If I ask her to pick up my kid, then the next time when I'm going to have to,
but
I'll be
that goes
obligated.
to sister friends, because I really do have people that I call a sister friend, and it's a special friendship. And I've even said to them, "You're my sister friend." I would honestly put you in that category, and I think we both would do that, because like if I'm in a pinch, I know that I can call Brenda, and there's no tit for tat because tit for tat wears me out.
Yes, Lord.
I am so flaky. I can't keep control of my own calendar, let alone what I owe or don't owe. So I love that you put those words on it, the O, because that is the burden. And so,
and that's why we don't ask.
It's like a no-O zone. You have to set that, and maybe it is to say it out front. By the way, I'm there for you. Call me, and I'll tell you if I can't do it or if I can do it. But listen, I'm your backup. And outing the owing part.
Yeah.
Like putting it out there.
I think putting it out there is the key. I mean, and I think you have to know who your sister friends are.
Yeah.
But I think the initial barrier is partially asking for help, but it's also the next time just saying it. Just saying, I would love to help. I would love to do X,
without
Y, or Z.
judgment.
I would love to do, but this time I can't. Keep asking me.
Yeah.
You know, I think we have to help each other out by one, being ourselves honest, because that's the only thing we can really be responsible for. But then letting them know there's an open door.
Yeah.
You know, and communication, right?
And the truth is, it's really in our mind. It's not necessarily that anyone around us feels that way.
It goes back to the isolation.
I mean, come on now.
Yes.
There are some girls.
It starts. Yeah,
They are out there.
But it starts with us. It's like, okay, why am I walking down these thoughts when I'm in the community of such wonderful women?
Yeah.
But it goes to the isolation thing, like
Yeah.
what you were talking about, that trick, the trick to be isolated. Okay, so you're not alone. You can walk it together. There's a level of authenticity that's really important. And knowing, too, the ones that you can't do it with. Because I do think that's important. Not in a bad way.
But sometimes you don't know which ones you can do it with until you ask. So I'll never forget when I was dating my husband, and I was kind of like, I'm not sure, you know. And my aunt said, and I'd come out of a really difficult relationship, and my aunt said to me, sometimes you never will know love until you take the risk of love.
Wow.
I mean, you just have to open yourself. And so I think in this same relationship situation,
so good.
there are some things you will never know until you take the risk. And so part of having sister friends, part of having support and community is taking the risk that sometimes I'm going to put myself out there and it's not going to work out okay. And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and then on those not working out, I think it's really important to maybe not take that level of like, I'm going to rely on you, but go an extra level of loving that person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because they're if it's not going to work out, there's something amiss. And so go the extra mile to really build up, to encourage, to, just maybe, I'm not trying to be
But don't
like
take
Pollyanna.
it personal. Don't take it personal and withdraw and apply
That's
that
the
feeling
hard
to
part.
the other people who might be wonderful resources for you.
Because we will apply it to everybody. The one person who says no will just be like, everybody's saying everybody's saying no. I shouldn't ask anybody.
Yeah.
Why
Can
didn't
I
you do
pull
that?
up a little bit, and this may get to probably what birthed maybe this book, but I think about when I get overwhelmed with parenting, and I think, wait, what is the goal? Like, what is the goal of raising these kids? And I go, okay, is it just that they graduate college? Maybe not. Is it that I look good and they behave well? So when I start pulling it, I go, wait, what is the point? And it helps me make decisions better. So when I think about and get overwhelmed as a woman, and I think about what is my role, and I get broader, and I get up and get perspective, it makes it a little more clear. It isn't less stressful. Doesn't mean our days don't get busier, but it helps me kind of
Perspective, though.
Perspective helps. So,
yeah.
can you give us a little bit of background behind Kingdom Woman, and did that process help you kind of go, all right, no? Did it help at all? Has it helped any women?
Well, when Daddy asked me to write with him on that book, I mean, I told him no for a variety of reasons. One, I didn't have time. Two, I was like, I don't really know that I have anything to say. I always thought that maybe I'd write a book later in life, like when I was 65 and all my kids were grown, so that way I'd know what I really could say.
Because that would be a long time from now since you're 27.
Exactly.
That'd be forever
Exactly. But I was like, by then they would have screwed up however they're going to screw up pretty much, and I'd know what was really, what really worked and what really didn't. And so the last thing was, it was called Kingdom Woman. Well, who was that? It wasn't me. You know what I mean? It's very too close to Superwoman. And so I told him no, but he just said no, no, we're not. You don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to show only a perfect side. Because I don't like reading books like that where everything is rosy. Like, show me. So in the sense that, yes, I got to share, here's what my struggles are for who God says I am, and maybe how I don't agree when I look at my life, but how I have to still choose to agree with him as I walk out my life. Wrestling with that. Because it not only gave me a little fun and freedom doing that, but because as I continue to share the message and as I go around and speak, and women say, I'm so glad I don't have to have it all together. Yeah. I'm so glad I'm not the only one who does this or not the only one who does that. It has definitely been cathartic and a blessing to me, to know that it helps for us to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because when I see you, it does appear that everything is together. And I know that there are challenges.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't, I don't know if it's intentional, but you don't let it show.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Yeah. But maybe part of why you don't let it show is because you're grounded in
that makes you a kingdom woman.
Okay, do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
It's like if you're grounded in the truth, your self-worth is found in something other than whatever it is that drives us to be everything, do all, and be all. I think it actually does give you freedom. And so maybe that's part of the answer too, really knowing where your self-worth lies.
It gives you a floor. I was just telling someone this morning, she said, I was telling her about my day-to-day. And she said, what are you taking and where can I get it? And because just the energy level. But I said, you know what? Just last night, I had like a meltdown. It was something completely unrelated, but you know how things start to balloon. And I just had this complete meltdown. And I said, but you know, then you hit a floor because there's a truth. It's not the end of the world.
Yes.
This is not the worst day of my life. This is not, it's not that I'm never going to be able to recover from that. And kind of what you're saying, that there is this truth. So if I start even degrading myself or what I'm able to achieve or how things are not going right, there's a floor. Knowing who God says I am and then bouncing off of that. You know, when you dive into a pool, whatever, and there's a floor and you can use that floor to push back up. And I think that's what, knowing what God says about you, that's why it's so important. Because it doesn't mean that we're not going to have those moments when we feel like we're drowning, but then there's a floor to push off of.
That's good. And you're working on another book too. Because she didn't have anything else to do.
That's right.
It's in my car. I'm going to Starbucks after that.
It's in your car.
Oh my gosh! It's like I'm working on it.
Steal it.
Yes. Like I think I can say the title. Like I just found out yesterday. It's actually on Amazon. Like they put it up there.
Then it's real.
I'm still working on it, but it's up there. I know. It's called She's Still There, Rescuing the Girl in You.
Okay, so what does that mean, rescuing the girl in you?
Well, because I felt like after participating with my dad on this project, it's a great floor. It's a great what does God say? So now my thought is, so how do I take this, what God says, and make my way from where I am to what God says? What does pushing off the floor look like? Like in a very tactical, practical way. What does it mean to encourage yourself in the Lord? What does it mean to kind of coach yourself out of the dark places? What does that mean? Apart from, there's nothing wrong with that, but apart from read the Bible and apart from, trust these things, what does it mean? How do you meditate on Scripture? How do you change the way you think? So it's more of a how to get from the floor above
Gosh,
ground.
that is going to resonate. I mean, with so many women, but I'm thinking about one friend in particular that I think in those years of many women, but for stay-at-home moms that I think they don't know themselves apart from their kids or doing the same kind of Groundhog Day every day, and they're like, is there a hint of even who am I anymore? And do I even am I anyone apart from these children? And she's still there. Gosh, that will resonate with so many people.
I will tell you that's why I think that topic is what hits people and why there is a midlife crisis.
Oh yeah.
Because you bump up against these expectations of who you are, who you should be, what you thought you would be, and it really doesn't match, and then the floor seems to fall out.
Cognitive dissonance. What I thought would be and what actually is, and the two do not fit.
Yeah.
That's a big word.
Tell us
I
how
love big words.
I love that.
And look, the reason why I'm using
I might have to think.
Tell us, Chrystal, about the girl in you, because it always starts with us.
Yes.
So let's talk about the girl in you who is being rescued.
Yes. So, I hinted in this book about being 19 and being pregnant. And so that's the biggest question by far that I get. So, but yeah, what did that look like? Like you said God met you there, but what did that look like? Because you still had to deal with the reality of that. So I go into a little bit more of that story in this book. But I didn't want the whole thing to be about, that's not what it is. It's not a memoir of me being 19 and pregnant. But the reality is that's when I first started experiencing a difference in my expectations for myself, for my choices, for my behaviors, for my life, and what was actually happening. And so that girl was lost for about 10 years.
Wow.
I was just trying to figure out where she went and how to function. And I think a lot of us get stuck at functioning. And so we don't have the energy to find her because all we have the energy to do is function. So there was 10 years in there where I really was just trying to remember where she was and stop pretending that I was pushing her into a corner. There's this thing too that we do with either our dreams or our desires or what we put on the back burner for other people. And sometimes we lie to ourselves and say, that didn't matter. That didn't matter.
True.
And that's part of where the midlife crisis comes from, because it did matter and you just pretended for 30 years it didn't, So that was partially that, but then there was the girl, same thing at home with kids, and you're like, okay, what am I doing with my life? I mean, my husband is struggling with a lot of different health challenges right now. So I've had to say the same thing. So like, for example, for me right now, the girl in me needs some time alone. I'm kind of right on the edge of introvert, extrovert. Mm-hmm. I can do it, but it wears me out, right? Mm-hmm. And so because I'm constantly putting out either by work or church or speaking or kids, the girl in me needed some alone time. Mm-hmm. And I needed to not feel bad that she needed a few minutes by herself. Yeah. Now, what that looks like right now may be me getting up at 5 and going to Starbucks and being so grateful that they open at 5 a.m. What that also may look like is in the evening me saying to my kids, I love you, but it's my turn, Mm-hmm. So not apologizing that for me to be my best girl, that there are certain things I have to give her, certain things I need to bless her with. And right now that big thing is time. So I think we all just have to and that's the journey of life, is learning more and more about your girl every day, and then being willing to give her the gift she needs to flourish in the season that she's in.
That's good.
Okay, which goes back again. Don't let the busy, don't let the superwoman, don't let all these pressures crowd out or steal from you, which is what I hear you saying. Mm-hmm. And so those are great things.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes, too, we can become someone who we really aren't because we've forgotten about the girl in us. Mm-hmm. Because of life's frustrations, we become short-tempered.
Or expectations.
And it's like, that's not who I really am. What happened to my smile?
Yeah.
Through the years.
Well, I love that. And this is one of the things, one of the things I really wrestled with, because I'm a Jesus girl, right? So everything is going to come from a biblical worldview. But there are some things, y'all, I'm just sorry. I just think we over Jesusify. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know if that's a word. But like, smiling is one of the...
Jesusify.
Dissonance is gone, but Jesus is making it.
But I think that smiling, okay, so does the Bible talk about joy and your countenance? Yes, it does. But sometimes my mother has a thing about sunsets. And she kind of orchestrates, she's in a season of her life where she can orchestrate some of her days to catch the sunset.
I love that.
And because it fills her up, she catches it. Yeah. And sometimes I think if there's not a superb reason that we can substantiate and logistically define for everybody else, just because it makes us happy.
Yes.
And because in the church, I think happy's a bad word and you should want the joy of the Lord. I mean, okay, but it's okay to be, it's okay to enjoy a certain cup or a certain tea or a certain, and so in your soul is a container, right? And God has put all these things in there. There's something that fills it up and there's something that drains it. Pain and stress drain it. You live life, that's going to happen. But we have to participate in filling it up. How do you fill it up? You fill it up by, spending time with the Lord, but you also fill it up by engaging in things that make you smile. Yeah. And I think with women, because we are constantly putting out, we're constantly sharing, and we want to do those things. We love our jobs, we love our kids, we love our ministry. We neglect the things that make us smile because maybe we don't feel like we can justify it.
Yeah, so great.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
I get go ahead.
No, so I'm going to ask you because we do forget.
Oh, yeah.
So what makes you smile?
Gosh, as soon as she was saying that, I was like, dance.
What makes you
dance?
And
I have so toyed with like finding a studio I could get back to. Or I was thinking about your classes. It's like I danced, ballet tap jazz when I was in high school. Dancing with my kids, at night. We just have so much fun.
You do want to do that. You said that about a year ago.
Yeah.
You need to. So we're going to hold you accountable. We're going to be your friends. We're going to hold you accountable to that. No, in a good way.
Come on, girl, do it.
I'm just telling you that you can do it in the car.
Yes,
and I've often
the Chewbacca woman, right? Just go get the man.
Me. Yes, she's so cute.
And I think that's the thing. What makes you smile? How many of us can really answer that question without putting some thought into it? Sometimes we're like, what would I do? And then when you share that, then your sister friends can hold you accountable for keeping that thing in your life.
Yeah. Well, and I love too that when you do those things, you don't even know the overflowing.
Yeah, and there is an overflow.
It is. One of my kids, there's a movie theater that's by the school, by where they go to school, and so I often will go by and pick up popcorn. And it's a tiny bit of an extravagant thing because movie popcorn is expensive, but they love it. And so I'll pick up popcorn on the way to the carpool, or I'll stand in the front and let them run in. So our little 9-year-old likes to run in because he can. It goes back to that whole thing. He's a 9-year-old. He can take a credit card, go in and pay, and get the popcorn. And he came out the other day and he said, "That man in there is so nice." and he goes, he gave me my popcorn, and he said, "You're gonna love this. This is the best popcorn in town." And so my kid gets in the car and says this. That man sure does enjoy life.
Oh, and don't you love that?
I did.
When you go to a restaurant and you get a waitress who loves what she's doing,
Yes.
that's an overflow into your experience at that table.
And so
And it
this is
could be
a
the Target
9-year-old.
or the
So there's
Walmart.
no, like, he doesn't know.
Yeah.
All he knows is he bumps up against this guy who's enjoying life. So a couple of days later, we come out, and a week later, he comes out, and he had sort of put butter on the popcorn because Jack didn't really know what butter on your popcorn was. and he was like, eh. So I took it back in, and I said to the guy, are you the man that has been serving my child? And he goes, yes. And I said, I just want you to know that he got in the car the other day and said that you enjoy life. And he said, I'll tell you what, I do enjoy life. And he said, this isn't where I thought I was going to be. He's 65. And he said, the happiest time I had in my life was teaching middle school. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you are a saint.
Yes.
You know what I
Everybody can
mean?
do that.
And then he went down all the other things, Fortune 100 company, one thing after the other. And he said, and here I am at 65 making popcorn. And he said, it isn't what I thought I was going to do, but I'll tell you what, I make the best popcorn in this city.
Right.
Oh my
And
word!
it was the most moving experience watching this man just fully embrace, and then it overflowing. And it's sort of like the cup is filled, it's flowing over, and it's touching everything that's around it. And,
Yeah, and those are the
beautiful.
words. Fully embracing where you are, even if where you are is not where you want to be, but fully embracing where you are and fully being who you are in that moment, and as a result, it being an overflow for you and everybody
Crazy.
else. You know?
I'm loving this conversation.
It's so
Love
good.
it, love
It's
it.
so good.
Love it, love it.
All right, what about you?
You know, I discovered what makes me smile too, and it was interesting. One day, the boys surprised me for my birthday, and they did everything that they know that I like. They put on the jazz music, and they just served me unconditionally. And so when I write in my journal, I'm like, that made me smile. You know, I wasn't doing that for me. My boys had to reintroduce me to some of the things that I really do like. And so, yes, sitting down, listening to some calming music, dancing, you know. And so I'm doing those things more.
Yeah.
And there's the overflow.
Yeah, and it's
know,
beautiful.
in my
I
home.
watch. I can
Yeah.
tell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
What
Okay,
about
your
you?
turn.
I like people, so anything with people, I really enjoy.
Which brings me to the next thing I want to ask you about. How do you make decisions on what to take onto your plate and what to say yes to and what to say no to?
Well, my best friend is time, that I don't give a quick yes and I don't give a quick no. My next best trick is my husband. I will ask him.
Yeah.
The next thing is, if I'm not sure, I poll my kids. And if my kids are giving me feedback that if they're already telling me I'm too busy, then I probably know it's a no.
Yeah.
Or there's a trade. But I think the people that are closest to me in my life, they know how my yeses and my nos are impacting my life. And they're the first wall that thing hits. So that's very helpful. But a lot of times it's just simply, I mean, I hate when people say this, but it's the truth. It's just kind of I just know in my knower. You know what I mean? I just know in my knower, but I have to have space between that moment of I really want to say yes to you, or space between I really want to personally do it, or space between. Once I give myself that space, in that quiet space, I know in my knower.
I totally agree. The women I've talked, and a lot of the women I talk to, I'm 40, so I don't want to act like I'm 60 and have all this wisdom, but I get this question all the time because I have a small business and so many young moms at home are torn and they're feeling that tug where I want to have purpose, I want to create a small business. And the answer I give them is very frustrating. It's like, it's so personal. It is so personal. And I hate to say, go pray about it, but it's so true because I can't give you that answer. I can't tell you, well, if you work 20 hours and if you put your child in this many hours in childcare and then you get your mom to help you this day, it will never work if I give you a formula. And so I've found it's personal and it's seasonal. And I think that's a frustrating answer for people, but it just is. There's no one way. And I'm sure you found that to be the case in one season of your life and with kids, and that it worked one way you're like, I'm not speaking at all. And then the next you're like, I know. I have flexibility.
I have it, and it changes. And there's so much about life that you don't know.
No. So knowing your knower, I love that. I love that you go through your gatekeepers, through your people, so you're not doing it alone, and that you're open to obedience. Because that goes back to the grounding, the ground that you hit to bounce out. Because if the ground's there, then it really does help those yeses.
Yes,
and it helps the no's, that you don't question yourself even in that, and you just sit there and go, I did the best I could with open hands,
right,
and kept moving forward.
Well, and then it goes back to sister friends too.
Yes.
I mean, there are probably 2 or 3 people that know me. They just know me. Yeah. So when I start asking, should I, what do you think? They know my life. They know my tendencies. And so having other people, particularly people who are a little further ahead, to bounce things off of, because then they're sharing based out of what they know out of my life and also what they know from wisdom, just being a little further ahead down the road. So. Yeah.
Well, we are so grateful that you said yes to this.
Yes, we are. I was going to bring it full circle. So when are you going to start your Christmas shopping, and what will Christmas look like?
All I know is there's going to be a spotlight coming from the house.
I know.
I was in the Flag Corps in high school. I played the piano, and I won a talent show in college.
Ooh, she could have done all of those things.
Agreed.
I think she was in the Flag Corps.
I think so too.
Okay, so
talent show.
No, we say no to the talent show.
Well, why are you saying no to the talent show?
I feel like you didn't hit your stride until early 20s.
Yes, I did. I was in one. I did not win.
Okay. Thanks so much for playing today.
Yes.